Why, hello there, how are you today? Awesome Soul here, and as I'm sure you saw by the title, today I'm going to be going over some things that I'm sure a large amount of people out there probably missed, just due to the fact that these weren't really publicized all that much. Or if they were published in a very specific spot that people don't always check constantly. That of course being various sections of the forum. But real quick, before we get into that, I would like to say that I finally have a video up on my second channel. That, for those who don't know, is my Pokemon related channel. As some people are aware, I am a rather large fan of the Pokemans. And I figured it was fairly different from the kind of games I talk about on this channel to warrant creating a second channel. So yeah, I recently put out a video on there, yesterday in fact, and I did put a fair amount of effort into the editing. So if you like the kind of videos I produce on this channel, like discussion videos, what ifs, as well as concept videos, and you would like to see me do the same for Pokemon, then you can go ahead and click the icon that should be appearing in the top right of your screen right about now. That should take you to the video and of course the channel. So if that sounds up your alley, go ahead and subscribe. Alright, shameless plug out of the way, we can actually go into the Robocraft news. What exactly is happening here? Well, the point I made in the title of the video is that the lasers have gotten a bit of a rework, albeit a slight one. It's more of a rebalance, I guess we can say. It's a fairly short post, so I will just read it out right now. By the way, this is live in the game at the moment, even though there wasn't really that much fanfare about it. So yes, the article reads as follows. As degunning is what lasers were good at, the recent health changes to big guns resulted in a indirect nerf to most lasers. To compensate this, we have increased the damage per shot for most laser weapons. We felt that the smaller versions of the lasers weren't strong enough and were running out of energy way too slow, and so their energy consumption and damage per shot has been increased more than the larger lasers. That of course is in terms of a percentage increase. So whereas the smaller ones might have gotten a 20% increase, the bigger ones might have only gotten a 5% increase. Just as an example, I'm not saying those were the actual numbers. They continue here, we also wanted to make lasers more different, and so the inaccuracy was increased as well. As some of you might know, the different sizes of lasers have a different spread value. So the smaller ones spread out the most, and the larger ones spread out the least. The laser disintegrator, the epic variant of the laser, damage per shot was increased, but its energy and inaccuracy values have stayed the same, as we felt they were in a good spot already. So this is rather simply a straight up buff to the laser disintegrator, as the only thing that changed here was the damage. As for the Leviathan, however, we felt that it was too similar to Rails in terms of doing heavy damage with every hit and running out of energy fairly fast. That's why we have decreased the damage per shot, but also reduced the energy consumption per shot to compensate for this damage reduction. And I have actually been doing a little bit of testing with the Leviathan, and honestly, so far, I can say that I actually do like this version of it. It feels a lot less punishing if you miss a shot, as well because it's using less energy. That means when you're at low power, aka when you've drained your power bar and are waiting for enough power to refill in order for you to fire your next shot, well, that means you can actually fire a little bit more rapidly now, meaning that it's a bit less jarring when jumping from rapid fire mode into low power mode, making it that much easier to still hit your target. Of course though, it still takes some skill. What about the other laser types, I hear you ask? Well, the Wasp, Hornet, Blaster, and Vaporizer have changed as well. The Wasp probably has the most drastic of the changes, as its weapon spread has gone up rather drastically. Although I should point out at one point in the game, the spread of the Wasp laser was actually rather high, but then it was brought down, but now it's kind of going back to more of a spread weapon. Though as you can see by the chart on your screen, even before they still weren't as accurate as the larger lasers. It was just slightly less accurate. So that does it for the laser changes. I'm curious to know how many of you actually knew this was in the game, because this was released on the 11th, so it's been in there for a little while. I'm wondering, if you didn't know this was a thing, did you kind of feel that lasers were a little bit different, or did they feel kind of the same to you? But anyways, moving on from there, here's something that some other people might be a little bit more aware of, as it's been out for a bit longer, and that is more A/B testing, this time for the CRF. If you don't know what an A/B test is, basically, when new players join the game during an A/B test, they're put into two groups. Group A will gain usually the basic features of the game, and Group B will gain a slightly modified version of the game, where they gain access to things quicker or gain access to things slower. This A/B test, of course, though, is temporary, and it's there so FreeJam can learn which method of doing things is better for overall player retention, as well as the player base as a whole. They have actually done this plenty of times in the past, but this time they are focusing on the CRF specifically, the Community Robot Factory. And this forum post reads, as you know, in order to learn more about how our users interact with the game, we often run A/B tests. Recently, we released a major new feature in the form of the Copy Robot to the CRF 2.0. This update also included a number of other important changes too. This release gave us huge step change improvements in retention of new users, i.e. the percent of new users who become engaged in the game and keep playing went up quite a lot. At the moment, we do not fully understand if this is the result of the CRF change or some other change, such as the power to CPU changes, etc. So we're running a few A/B tests, which effectively remove the CRF for 25% of new users for a short period of time. This is so they can see statistically how this affects their behavior in-game and how it affects their retention. And they close out here by saying that once they actually have the results of the A/B test, they will share them on the forums as they always do. I'm reporting on this for two reasons actually. One is to simply get this out there, as I feel not enough people know about it. And two, it sort of starts a little bit of a conversation around the CRF in general, because I have seen, albeit rarely, some people who just flat out want the CRF to be removed entirely. I believe most of them feel that you can just simply copy a bot off the store, mainly a drone, which is very, very difficult to build. It requires a lot of building skill, but it requires much less gameplay skill. So if you take out the hardest part of playing a drone, which is building it, then you're kind of on easy mode. Mind you, that argument was made before drones were rather massively nerfed, but still, I'm sure those people are still out there. I'm not saying it's necessarily a bad thing, it's just something I don't really agree with, as I feel the CRF opens up a huge amount of potential to builders in the game. This is a community-driven game after all, so why not share your creations with the world? Another thing though that would be kind of interesting and maybe please both of the crowds is that possibly making it so new players cannot gain access to the CRF until they build and play with a certain number of unique bots. As the motto of Robocraft is build, drive, fight, after all. It would make sense that if you want your players to stick around, you need to get them engaged in building first and foremost. And if they simply just run to the store and buy a bot and play it without ever actually learning how to build, then that's a huge amount of the game that's down the drain for them. They might feel that the gameplay is a little bit shallow, but that's because they haven't even touched the building section. I don't know, just a thought there, but what do you guys think about all that? Oh, and by the way, as a friendly little reminder, FreeJam's Will Edit for Swag contest is still going on. At least it certainly still sounds like it by this part from the article. And I quote, here's how it works. At the beginning of each month, note they say each month, so that's why I assume it's still going on. We'll pick winners at random from the top wiki editors for that previous month, and so on and so forth. So if you want the possibility of earning some cool free stuff, such as a t-shirt, plushie, mug, lanyard, sticker, back scratcher, and even a pen, by simply just inputting data into the Robocraft wiki, then the link to find out more will be down in the description below. Oh yes, and one last thing I would like to throw in here. It is a tweet from Mark Simons. Somebody asks, Mark, do you have any plans to make the crate system any better? His response is, soon we'll be adding features to save them and open them when you want. And some of you might remember a few videos back, we actually discussed this very topic in the video I did on community polls. This is one of the features that was voted for, but never actually made it into the game. And it seems like they have not forgotten about it, and it will actually make it in fairly soon. No release date here, obviously, though. We're just gonna have to kind of play it by ear and see how it goes. Anyways, guys, that will wrap up this video for today. Once more before I go, if you haven't checked out the video I put up on my second channel, you should see it on the side cards to the right. Be sure to give it a watch and leave a friendly comment if you enjoyed. But yes, with that, guys, I of course have been the Awesome Soul. I thank you so very much for watching. I'll see you next time. Take care.